Good morning, friends. Hello. Welcome to Brightline Bites Live. My name is Becky. I'm part of the Brightline Eating social media team, and I'm here today to give you a little food prep demonstration on what we like to call Brightline Bites Live. Brightline Eating is a scientifically based, scientifically grounded weight loss and weight loss maintenance program. And in Brightline Eating, we follow 4 bright lines. No sugar, no flour, everything we eat is weighed and measured, and we only eat meals, no snacking. So those are the 4 bright lines. And then a lot of people come to us and say, well, excuse me, what kind of foods can I eat in Brightline Eating? What kind of compliant lunches can I have? Dinners can I have? How do I make a Brightline breakfast, etc.? And so as part of the social media team, we get a lot of these questions in social media on Facebook and Instagram and all the places that we are on social media. So we field a lot of these questions, and we decided it would be great to start this video series where we can show you some of the beautiful bright foods that we eat in Brightline Eating. So let's get started. Today we're making a recipe that I actually came up with, and this was based on a recipe in Susan Pierce Thompson's cookbook, the Brightline Eating cookbook. And excuse me, I got a frog in my throat this morning. There's a recipe in the cookbook that is a banana rice bake. And I had tried that, and I wanted to experiment with a little bit of a different texture. So I started to kind of play around with the ingredients, and I came up with this recipe. And I've tried it multiple different ways, subbing out this for that, a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. This recipe that I'm going to show you here is really the way that I think it works best and is really, really delicious. It's quite easy to throw together, and you can make these ahead of time and throw them in the fridge and have them, make a couple days worth of breakfast at a time and then have them ready to go, which really just gives you wonderful peace to just know what you're having for breakfast the next morning, and you don't have to worry about it or think about it or argue with your saboteur in your head who's saying, oh, maybe you should just have something off plan or, etc. If you have these breakfasts ready to go, then that means that you're set up for success. So this recipe, I've called it a Banana-Berry Oat Loaf, and it kind of ends up sort of looking like a little banana muffin or banana bread sort of thing. But you could also think of it more as like a baked oatmeal sort of thing with an egg in it. So I'll show you what I mean. But if you are new here, I first want to welcome you and thank you for tuning in and joining me this morning. And if you're new and you haven't started Brightline Eating yet, or maybe you're just sort of dabbling a little bit, I want to strongly recommend that you check out the Brightline Eating Bootcamp. It's how I found my success before I joined the Brightline Eating social media team. I was just a Brightliner. I was living the Brightline life. I've released over 50 pounds on this program and am so much happier in my right size body. And I got there by the Brightline Eating Bootcamp. There's a link in the description. Please check out the description, and also in the comments, say hi. Tell us where you're joining us from this morning, and say hello, and let me know you're here, and let me know what you think of this recipe, and if you try it, and if you love it, if you don't love it, if you have a substitution or whatever, let us know in the comments. Super glad to have you here today. So the reason I want to talk about the Brightline Eating Bootcamp today is that when you are choosing foods and figuring out menus and foods that are going to work on your program, you want to have a solid foundation, So this recipe does involve baking something with fruit in it. Now, a lot of people can get into trouble with baked fruit, and here's why. And I want to preface this by saying I am not a Brightline Eating coach. We have wonderful, amazing, expert Brightline Eating coaches on our team who you have access to if you join a boot camp or one of our other programs, or after boot camp, if you stay in Bright Lifers, you have access to the coaches that way. And our coaches are amazing. And we on the social media team have talked to them about this question because we get asked, a fair amount of the time about baking fruit. And so we've asked them for their guidance on this and how to help people out with this question. Because the higher you are on the susceptibility scale, the more opportunity presents itself for you to run into difficulty with baking fruit. And why is that? It's because fruit has naturally occurring sugars in it. And when you cook it, it concentrates that sugar and it makes it taste sweeter, and it can trigger your brain, and it can just be the start of that slippery slope that gets your brain chatter going and makes you lose your peace with food. So I'm going to get started cooking here while I'm chit-chatting, but I do want to recognize the fact that this recipe does have baked fruit in it. That said, I'm not breaking down the fruit, I'm not blending the fruit, and you'll see when it's done that the majority of the fruit is still just intact. It's not baked down to a sauce. It's not cooked down to like a syrup consistency or anything. That said, if this recipe doesn't work for you, if it does not give you peace, if it messes with your peace, if it messes with your head at all, if you find yourself thinking, oh my gosh, that was so good, I want to find a way to have some for lunch too, that's messing with your peace. So if it does start to trigger you at all, or if you're afraid at all that it will trigger you, don't try this recipe. It's that simple. Use what works for you. Just use what works for you. So what I'm going to start with here, because it's a Banana-Berry Oat Loaf, some banana. Generally, what we're going to put in is I'm going to lightly mash, just so that it's kind of in lumps. I'm going to lightly mash this banana. And usually I just put in one banana, but most bananas that I get are like 3 to 4 ounces. For some reason this week I got these massive bananas. They're just absolutely huge. So I'm just going to put in about 3.5 or 4 ounces of banana. And then I'm going to add blueberries until it equals 6 ounces. So there's 3.5. And the banana doesn't need to be precise. Yes, we measure everything precisely, but what I'm going to do is add blueberries until it equals 6 ounces, and that's my precise measurement. It's my 6 ounces of fruit. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. Gonna mash first. And I'm going to take this, where'd my fork go? Here it is. I'm going to take this off the scale to mash it. Show you what I'm doing here. Just kind of break it up into lumps with a fork. And I don't like to do that on the scale because it just pushes too much pressure on the digital food scale. So the reason that I think boot camp is just really the best foundation is because our coaches are in there, and you have all these wonderful modules led by Susan Pierce Thompson, where they lead you through how to make these decisions. I mean, I just gave you like a 1-minute synopsis, but they really can lead you through these decisions and then coach you if you run into any questions that you're just not sure about. And then you just have this beautiful foundation for your program that is just the optimum place to start. So there's 6 ounces of fruit. I'm going to set this aside and get out my mixing bowl. Here's my mixing bowl. Okay, and today I've done something a little different for you since I've written up this recipe already. It's in the description already. So you have the recipe right there in the description, no waiting. We're going to take 1 egg and 2 ounces of milk. And zero out my scale. 2 ounces of milk is sometimes a little hard to measure, but I can always scoop a little out if I need to. I gotta get the lip of my bowl out of the way. 2.1. Goodness gracious. I'm just putting this milk in my garbage bowl over here. There we go. 2.0 exactly. Okay. I'm going to whisk this up together. And there we go. Now, the next thing we're going to add is 1 ounce of quick oats. I've been trying to educate myself on the difference between all the types of oats, because there's quick oats, there's rolled oats, there's steel cut oats, there's oat groats, there's instant oats. Quick oats, to my understanding, are the same as rolled oats, but they're cut into smaller pieces so they cook more quickly, hence the name. So they're the flat oat pieces, and it's probably the same as instant oats. Let's see, 1 ounce of quick oats. Now we're gonna add some cinnamon and nutmeg. You can really do this to taste. If you don't care for nutmeg, you can just do cinnamon, but I would definitely recommend putting some seasoning in here. So I'm gonna do a teaspoon of cinnamon. I honestly usually just kind of eyeball this, but we'll do a teaspoon of cinnamon. And I'm going to do about a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. And as I said, you can do this to taste. And I'm just going to put in a little dash of salt, and that's optional. I have this beautiful sea salt. It's called Malden is the brand, and it's a very large flake sea salt. So I like to just grind a little bit up in there, coarsely ground, and then mix that together. And I'm going to set my scale aside because I don't need that for this part. Okay. Now I'm going to add my fruit into the egg and oat mixture here. Now when we're done with this recipe, this is going to be one complete women's weight loss breakfast. We have 6 ounces of fruit. We're going to have 1 complete protein and 1 grain with the oats once we're done here. And you can see the banana is still in pretty big chunks in here, and I'm not going to mash up those blueberries at all. You can try this with different kinds of berries. I've made it with thawed frozen dark cherries before. You could try other berries. I've never tried them. I think the blueberries are just really perfect in here. Okay. Now I'm going to take a loaf pan and just sort of gently spray it a little bit with some nonstick spray. If you have a nonstick pan or something, you probably don't need to do that. And Susan has spoken before about how that spray is just a little light spray is so negligible. You don't need to worry about counting it towards your fat. If you are truly just doing a little light spray so that your pan isn't, sticking. Setting my utensils down in all sorts of places, and I'm just gonna dump this batter basically into the loaf pan. Now you can make this in a number of different types of pans. My favorite way to make them is in some mini loaf pans. I like to take 2 little mini loaf pans, and I actually made one already this morning because this is going to take too long to bake and we don't have that much time together. So I made one already this morning, a batch of this in those little mini loaf pans, and they're just so darn cute. You can make it in, this is just a regular old loaf pan, regular size loaf pan. I feel like I'm off center today. Got my counter cam over here and I'm over here. This is just a regular size loaf pan. You could do it in there. You could probably do this in like a muffin pan. I've never tried that, but I don't see why not. I would just maybe recommend you could plunk the blueberries into each individual cup, then pour the rest of the batter in with the banana and everything, just so that all the blueberries don't end up in one muffin tin. You could probably put this into like a stoneware, like a round stoneware dish or something. That would probably work fine. So what I'm going to do is put this in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 20 minutes, roughly about 20 minutes. You might need to adjust that time a little bit depending on your own oven. I have a toaster oven right here on my counter that I use, and this really pretty consistently comes out really nicely done, 20 minutes at 350 in that toaster oven. So I'm going to set this aside now and show you what they look like when they're done. These, they've sort of shrunk, like they've shrunk away from the sides a little bit since they were done, because I finished them about, I don't know, 20 minutes ago or so. And I just moved my scale out of the way so you could see these, and I'm gonna need my scale again. That's all right, we'll grab it. This is what they look like. So this is that same recipe. I've just divided it into 2 small pans. And you can see a few of the blueberries have kind of broken open a little bit, but a lot of them are still intact. And they haven't cooked down to, you know, a complete liquid. So what I'm gonna do is just scoop these out onto a plate. And they are sometimes when I make this, they don't come out too pretty. We'll see if we can get them out in one piece. We shall see, because they do look really cute if you can get them out in one piece. Ooh. There we go. Cute little, and these smell amazing when they're in the oven. I was getting ready to join you all here on Facebook this morning, and my husband came out of his office and said, "Oh my gosh, that smells so good." Well, I'll put them in the fridge and you can have them for breakfast tomorrow morning. There we go. Okay. Here are our little oat loaves. That was a little piece that was stuck to the pan. I like to cut them in half so that I have 4 pieces, and I'll show you what it looks like inside. There we go. And there we go. And what we have in here so far is 1 egg, 2 ounces of milk. 1 egg is half of a women's protein serving. 2 ounces of milk is 1/4 of a women's protein serving. So we have 1/4 of a protein serving left. And what I like to do is add a little Greek yogurt on top. Gonna need my scale. As kind of like a, I want to say sort of like a icing on top, but that's not, it's not how we think of things around here in Brightline Eating. So it's sort of just like a nice little cool topping, and it's pretty as well. So 2 ounces of Greek yogurt is a 1/4 serving, 1/4 of a protein serving. Now, I'm specifying that this is, whoops, oh goodness, I don't like when that happens, because then it just doesn't look pretty. Little blob there, okay. 2.1, I'm over. I've been specifying that this is women's weight loss serving because on a men's program, the milk measurement is the same, 8 ounces for a protein serving. Yogurt is the same, 8 ounces for a protein serving. However, eggs are different. On the men's weight loss program, it's 3 eggs to a protein serving. So, a little bit of difficult BLE math here. If you want to make this breakfast for a man on the men's, or if you're eating the men's program for whatever reason, or if you have 3 eggs in your breakfast, you would need to add 1/6 of a protein serving to your breakfast. Now I know 1/6 is kind of a weird amount, so I've done some math for you and it's in the recipe in the description. If you want to convert this to a men's weight loss breakfast, add 1/6 of a protein serving, such as 0.3 ounces of nuts or nut butter, or you can add an additional 1.3 ounces of yogurt. So if you want to make this 3.3 instead of 2 on top, you could do that. You could sprinkle a little bit of nuts on top, spread a little nut butter on top of a couple of them, or mix that 0.3 ounces of nuts or nut butter right into the batter when you're baking it. That would be amazing. So here it is. This is the Banana-Berry Oat Loaf breakfast. I really, really hope that you've enjoyed watching this and that you consider trying this recipe. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you enjoy it. or if you don't enjoy it, that's okay too. And as I said, if you are interested in starting your Bright Line Eating journey or taking your Bright Line Eating journey to the next level, please go and check out our boot camp, the Bright Line Eating Boot Camp. Our coaches in there are absolutely amazing. The modules are amazing, and the social support is amazing, and the results are amazing, to be quite honest. I am living, walking proof of that. I am going to be back. Oh, and the link to that boot camp is right in the description. I am going to be back with you in 2 weeks on May 10th, and we're going to be making some burrito bowls, and that will be delicious. And I'm just wondering if there's anything else that I need to cover today. Let me see. I'm going to turn off my counter camera, and I'm going to hop into the comments and see if anybody has any questions, if the rest of our team hasn't already gotten to. Let's see here. See who's with us today. I get so excited to see all the people that are here joining us, all of the places that people are joining us from. Karen got her Bright Line Eating cookbook. It's arriving today from Amazon. That's amazing. Karen, if you haven't tried any of the recipes from the Bright Line Eating cookbook yet, I'll just give you some of my personal favorites. There's a black bean and fresh corn salad, which I love to make for lunch, and that was actually the first Bright Line Bites video that we did last fall, so you can check that out. There's the banana rice bake, which is really good, which is the idea that got me started on this recipe. There are there's stuffed peppers. They're like black bean stuffed peppers. I think they're called Latin stuffed peppers. Those are really good as well. And my tip for that is that I like to substitute, I think it's 2 ounces of tomato for 2 ounces of the onion. So it's a little less oniony and has a little tomato in it. They're so good. I'm trying to think what my other favorite recipes in the cookbook are. Those are definitely top of my favorites. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the cookbook. That's really exciting. Let's see. Katie from Ohio. Hi, Katie. She says she is a 10 on the susceptibility scale, but tried this recipe and was not triggered by it. That's great information. Absolutely great information. Okay, let's see. Gina from Southern Illinois, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Wendy was on to me early. She says 1 egg and 2 ounces of milk. That's a complete protein serving? Nope, not until you add the yogurt at the end. Oh, and I should mention, if you're going to add the yogurt at the end, if you're going to make these ahead of time, if you're going to make these, I was trying to read comments and talk at the same time, and that never works out well. If you're going to refrigerate these and hold them for another day, I would recommend not adding the yogurt until right before you eat it. So don't put the yogurt on and then refrigerate it. Refrigerate them, and then right before you eat it, add the yogurt. Yes, and Tessa said, you add yogurt later. You people are so smart. I love it. Okay. Oh, sorry. Did I not tell you what I was sprinkling on top? I sprinkled a little cinnamon on top. I might have sprinkled a little bit of nutmeg on top. If you want to add a little more cinnamon and or nutmeg on top at the end, you can absolutely do that. Let's see. Patty wants to know whole or skim milk. I use skim milk. I don't consume a lot of milk generally, and my kids, I have 2 kids, they drink the fat-free skim milk. So that's just what I tend to have in the house. You can use another kind of milk if you want. I do sometimes have almond milk in the house. Sometimes it's 1%. In Susan Pierce Thompson's book, Bright Line Eating, she does say that when it comes to dairy products, whether you're having whole milk, 1% fat-free, this pertains to yogurt as well, doesn't really matter that much. But we would tend to recommend low-fat or non-fat generally. But if you are having whole milk, it's not the end of the world. That is also totally okay. The point is to get that protein serving, that complete protein serving. Wow, Linda's watching from Saudi Arabia. Welcome, Linda. Thank you for joining me. Oh, Sherry says she loves the cheese and rice omelet from the cookbook. That's amazing. The PB&J to go is amazing too. Yeah, I see a lot of people sharing that one on social media. Oh, everybody's sharing their favorite recipes from the cookbook. That's so cool. So, yeah, I think that's it. If there are any questions that didn't get answered, I'll hop into the comments later and make sure that I get them answered for you. And the recipe is right there in the description. And thank you so much for joining me. Check out the Brightline Eating Bootcamp, and I'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody. Have a beautiful, bright day.